Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the podcast Perspective of the Mind. My name is Diana, and I'm your host. Having a deep, profound, meaningful connection with a significant other is one of our basic human needs, right? Yet we live in times where it happens less and less. It was very clear some years ago that men were the providers and the protectors of the family, while women were taking care of the household and children. Nowadays it's different. We talk about feminism. Women are independent and men are complaining that women are too masculine. While on the other side, women are complaining that men are too feminine. And on the top of that, there is a rise for polygamous and open relationships, which confuses addition in society. It's easy for us to blame the social media for showing us unrealistic standards, or dating apps for showing us unrealistic possibilities, or to blame our unhealed traumas. While, in the reality, we are the dating apps. We are the social media. We are responsible for healing our traumas. My guest holds a degree in psychology. She is very passionate about coaching people how to have healthy relationships and to date consciously. She's an amazing woman who has such a defined and elegant way of accumulating her advice, and her name is Esther Sarphatie. Hello, Esther. I'm so glad to have you on. Thank you so much for participating and for your willingness to share your wisdom and your knowledge with the audience.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited for this episode with you. I was very happy when you reached out to me and invited me.
Great to hear that. So, Esther, you are like giving a lot of valuable advice about relationships, right? About dating. You reach millions of people online. And what is your story? How did you decide to go exactly in this direction? And I'm just wondering, maybe you yourself struggle with, like before, to have like a healthy bond with men, and that was also the catalyst for the work that you're doing nowadays. I would love to hear a little bit more about your story.
Well, I have always wanted to study psychology since I was a child because I always felt a feeling of gratitude when I was able to help students in school, when I was very little already. So I thought, this is my mission, this is my calling. I need to study psychology. I loved the idea of other people and how they function, how they think. And then when I grew up, I first studied economics and politics because my parents thought it was wiser to study something that would give me like a job for sure, because psychology, they thought it was too difficult. And then I studied psychology in England. And I loved my studies so much because the economics and politics, I suffered. I didn't like it at all. It was very, everything was very by the book. And with psychology, you can really do case studies, you can do research, you can analyze people. So that's really what I love to do. But I was living in Greece at that time, and I wasn't sure if I could work in Greece as a psychologist. So I just gave advice basically locally here with people, Greeks. And then years later, I decided to actually share all my, I don't know if you want to call it wisdom, but all my knowledge, let's put it like that, to to people online. So I started with TikTok. And meanwhile, I had kind of specialized in relationships because everybody struggles with relationships, and maybe not so much with your partner, your man, but maybe you have a girlfriend with whom you don't know, if she really cares for you. Maybe she's jealous, you don't know how to manage it, or with your children or with your parents. We are social beings, so our whole lives are about relationships. You cannot isolate yourself from the world, right? It makes us unhappy because we need people around us. And people teach you things in life, and that's how you grow. And I love to do this. So that's my story.
I love it, and I so much agree with you that sometimes it's just challenging to manage the relationships, and not only intimate relationships, right? We're talking about
Yes.
like friendships and family relationships. So I love your work, definitely,
Thank
and
you.
helping people to understand a little bit more about the mind, how we operate, so that we can create better relationships, right? Not only in
Yes.
minimal sense. But now we'll be
Yes.
talking about intimate relationships, specifically
Okay.
love. Yeah, that's how.
I love it. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Let's start with the question: what are the things that you wish every man knew about women when it comes to dating, and every woman knew about men when it comes to dating? Let's just start with the women firstly.
I wish that women knew about men that you cannot expect a man to give you things that he cannot give you. So very often, many of my clients who I speak to online, they tell me, I want him to pay me more attention to me. I want him to give me presents. Why doesn't he do that? This or that or the other. And the truth is that a man, if he cannot give it to you because maybe his finances are not in order to give you presents all the time, or maybe it's just not who he really is, then women get disappointed because they tell me, but in the beginning he was giving me things. Yes, but that is the first stage. In the first stage, everybody shows their best side. Everybody is trying to manipulate the other person to get involved with them, right? So a man, the first 3 to 6 months, he will be perfect. He will take you out and buy you flowers, etc. After he calms down, after his testosterone calms down, then you see the real man. And that's the phase that you have to see as a woman if you want to accept him for who he is. Because most women start to nag, and they start to call him out, like, why don't you do this for me? You don't give me attention. You don't this, that. And as soon as you start to attack a man like that, he pulls back. And I see this all the time. That's very often the reason why intimate relationships don't progress. Because women, I wish women knew this, that the way we think about relationships, the way we think about marriage is mostly based on a fantasy. It's not based on reality. The internet doesn't help. All these images of girls being proposed to on a beach in the Maldives with 1,000 red roses around them. Young girls get the complete different image of what a relationship is actually all about. It's a lot of work. And what I would like men to understand about women is that because women are emotional creatures, very often men don't know how to handle women because they don't trust women, because they don't trust the emotional outbursts women have when a woman has her period, or when a woman gets upset. She eats everything for inside, she overthinks all these thoughts all week, and then one day on Sunday, when he's finally relaxed, she fights with him because it's her only time that she can actually reach him. And then this man is like overwhelmed with, what is going on here? I don't understand anything about you. So a man very often gives up very soon with trying to understand why a woman is so emotional, with trying to understand that a woman actually has a cycle, a hormone cycle. A woman has a period. What does that mean? I know men, but very few, who read books about this so they can actually understand their partner. It's usually like, oh my God, do you have your period again? They don't show any understanding for women and their emotion.
Yeah, and that's so true what you have said. Like, men are not really educated about that, right?
No.
They're not really educated about our cycle and how does it affect our daily lives. So it's something that I guess we have to speak up more so that more and more men can understand that and then struggle less with our.
And the truth is, because men are very logical beings. It doesn't help when a woman tells him, but I have my period, you should know I'm not in a good mood. Because that makes a man nervous. Because when a man is a fixer, right? But when you give him a problem that he doesn't know how to fix, because how can he fix your mood when you have a period, right? He can get you some ice cream, get you a warm tea, but that's all he can do. So if you give him, for example, a book to read about what this actually means, this cycle of a woman, then maybe he can understand it a little bit more without this woman again attacking him. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. So we can summarize that men they have to educate themselves, right, about the period of the women, so that they can understand more our emotional side, right, because it's related to our period, right? While women,
Yes,
they don't have to ask men for more than what men can offer,
exactly.
and wait like 3 6 months so that they can see the real side of the men and their real intention, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so now we know men
Exactly.
what they have to know about dating and women and the opposite. Okay, when we are talking about dating, I'm very curious. What do you think about dating apps? Is it a good thing or it's not? If you're watching that far, please subscribe to this channel, give a like or a comment to the episode. It will really help the channel to grow, and it will help me to bring you even more inspiring conversation, to scale the podcast, to scale the guests. I really appreciate your support. Let's go back to the episode.
The big problem nowadays, I think actually that in the near future, we will have a different fashion when it comes to dating. I think we will go back to matchmaking because I think that young people are fed up with dating apps. It's a lot of swiping, it's a lot of nothing. Men have big issues with presenting themselves correct on dating apps. They have no good pictures, the description of themselves. They don't know how to present themselves well. And then there are many women, because we are in general way more busy with our Instagram and our Facebook, it's more a feminine thing to do. We are good at, taking pictures, finding pictures, making selfies, writing about ourselves, a whole story. A man is not so good at that. So it's a big problem on a dating app to actually meet a match, because when you are used to clicking on a few types of men, then in the algorithm, your history of your choices is being put inside, right? So the algorithm then also doesn't help you to maybe look for another type of man that maybe would fit you better. So I think dating apps don't really have the purpose as they are intended to have. I think matchmaking is a way better choice if you want to find a serious partner. If you want to have fun and go out and meet people, sure, be on a dating app. But if you really want to find a partner to share your life with, not so much to marry, but to share your life with, and then you see if marriage is in it or not, then I think it would be way better if people would actually go to matchmakers and pay money so that a matchmaker can find like a real match for you. Because you are so much more than just these, I like to cook, I like this, I like that, what is written on dating apps. It's like fast fashion is exactly what dating apps are all about. It's like fast dating. That's what apps are about. It's difficult to find an app that actually gives you the opportunity to meet a good match.
And when you say matchmaking, I've never heard somebody using that service. What
Yes,
exactly is that?
there are actually many people who start this business again. I also saw a whole series on Netflix. It was very interesting. So these are people who have a big network, and they have files of clients in their network, and they know also many people in different countries. And for example, if you go there, they will interview you, or they also can do it via video call, and you tell them exact things about yourself, and they will ask you questions like you ask me questions now. You get to know something about me through this interview, right? That's also what a matchmaker does. And that's way more effective, because then you don't need to go through this whole, maybe years of dating John, Ben, and Isaac every Friday night. You have a new date. It's exhausting. I speak to so many young women who are very tired of dating. And also, what happens, because it's also flaky nowadays, right? It's not so serious anymore. So the rules have changed. Basically, there are no rules anymore. So let's say you meet a man on a dating app and you go out for twice or three times and he disappears. You are disappointed because you're like, I thought we had a great time and they took me to these nice restaurants. Why would he spend money on me and then disappear? But that's how men are. And all these disappointments, they start to build up. And then at some point, you're scared to go on a dating app because you're like, this has just been one disappointment after the other. But if it's actually through a matchmaker, then the men who also sign up are serious candidates because they pay money to the matchmaker to find a match. You understand? So it's a real investment in yourself. And you save up a lot of time because you're not scrolling every night on all these apps to try and do it yourself, let's say. You have a support, you have a manager, let's say, who looks out for you as well.
Maybe you can, after the interview, Esther, you can share with me some services like
I will.
and then I can point them in the description of the interview, and people can,
yes,
they may want to try. I don't know, they may want to try. But how about
yes,
the traditional meeting? Like, we somehow
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But nowadays, listen to this. This is really an epidemic. Single women, you know where they are?
At home.
Exactly. With their cat or with their dog, and with their plants, and doing their morning routine, and working from home, and going to the gym, and getting takeout food. It's really bad. We have become very unsocial.
Yes.
It's not anymore that a woman will just put on some makeup and go to a local cafe and sit there and read a book. That doesn't exist in our world anymore. Everything is online. So women who are single, who work, they're at home. They're not going to go to a bar at night. But what I would say, if you are single, right, and you want to meet a nice guy, not a nice guy, but a guy who has the potential to be a serious boyfriend and not just a one-night stand, then you will have to literally go to places where those men could be. And that's, for example, maybe a sports bar where men meet up, friends meet up once a week when there is a game on and they want to, instead of sitting at home because they're also single, watch the game themselves, meet at the sports bar with other friends, to watch the game together. That's a typical male thing to do. Or at a tennis club, or at a golf club, or maybe at a nice hotel. You just plant yourself literally in the lobby where people do meetings. There are many high quality men, they go to big cities and they have meetings in hotel lobbies, in the hotel that they're staying at, because that's more convenient. So you sit there and you have a coffee and you're not on your phone like this, but you're going through a magazine or whatever to attract a bit of attention. Or you have to travel. So you have to literally do research if you are single and you want to meet a man, and it doesn't work through the dating apps. You have to do research to see where you should put yourself out there to be seen. Because the most important reason why so many women are single is because they're not being seen. If nobody knows about you, how can they have their Instagram closed? I tell them they have a private Instagram. Why do you have your Instagram private? How you want to meet somebody, you call me. It's nice. I want to help you, but you have to open up your Instagram account, because every man who meets you, wherever they meet you, they will first check you out on social media, right?
I guess so.
Yes. When I meet somebody, if it's for work or for anything, I Google everybody. Yeah. Because nowadays, if it's not smart to just go by what you tell me. You know what I mean? You could be anybody, right? And that's also how it is in the dating market. So you have to be strategic, and and when you do the work, not just the work of doing your research where you should be, but also do the work on yourself. You should always work on yourself. Your biggest investment in life should be you, nobody else. And because when you continuously reinvent yourself and invest in yourself and do things for yourself, like read books, educate yourself, learn a new language, travel to meet other cultures, learn how to cook, learn how to, I don't know, have a hobby, something, learn to play the piano, go to the gym, then you are also a way more interesting person for any man.
So as far as I hear, you're all about efforts, right? You believe that
yes.
people should put efforts into that rather than,
yes.
Expecting that love happens by itself. That's what you're preaching. That's what I'm hearing.
No, what I mean is, sorry, I mean to say that you have to put effort into everything because nothing goes by itself. But you have to have fun in the process. Because if you do all this work on yourself while you are suffering because you're like, oh my goodness, I have to do my hair, I have to do my nails, I have to learn a language because I need to meet a man and this is the only way, then leave it. But you have to find things, investing in yourself, I mean, that you have to love yourself enough that you think you are worth investing in. And then what you do as an investment is up to you, because maybe you love to go and climb mountains. You know what I mean? That's also investing in yourself. That's spending quality time with yourself. So everything starts with self-love. And that's also what everybody is struggling with. It's very hard. It's easier to love somebody else than to love yourself nowadays, because we have all these traumas that we carry and they go from generation to generation. But if you can practice self-love, then you will see how important it is to invest in yourself. And then you will want to invest in yourself because you are going to be your longest friend in this life, right? There's no other person in your life who is going to be your best friend for that long. So you have to be on good terms with yourself. And when you realize that you are worth it, then you have fun with this process. Then you like to go to a nice hotel and spend 10 euros, I'm just saying, on a really nice coffee and a piece of cake or something like that, because you're worth it. You're not going to the hotel like, maybe here are high quality men, maybe somebody will notice me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all about your energy. This is what I want to teach people, that energy, whatever you give out, comes back to you. It's the most important thing.
Yes, I so much agree with you. And how about
I'm happy.
The cases? I know such cases, Esther, where people are intensively out. People are intensively out and searching, and nothing happens for years. So what is the explanation in such situation?
When you force situations, when you are on purpose, like for example, with this matchmaker, you go there, you do the whole interview thing, and then you let it go. So you free yourself from any holding on to. This dating app situation is very much like on purpose, trying very hard. You know what I mean? Trying, scrolling, this one, no, this one, no, this one, no. So it ruins also the positive energy you have about dating. So if you go out every Friday night or every Saturday night with your girlfriends with the purpose to, we have to go there, maybe we meet a nice guy, we have to go to that club and all that, and it doesn't happen, it's because the energy around you, your whole aura, is one of desperation. And that pushes people away. It doesn't attract. The kind of woman who attracts is a woman who is very sure about herself, the woman who is unbothered by anything that happens around her. So she will go to the club and she will have so much fun because that's why she goes. And if then drinks are being offered by other men, it's great, it's perfect. But if you go there like this, I have women in my circles who, when I go out with them, they're all like looking all the time. It never brings a man to you, or it doesn't bring the right man anyway.
And now I'm going to ask a question that is basically a question from a friend of mine. So if she's watching, she knows that.
Yes.
Is there a right way of falling in love?
When you mean right way, is like it should go like this or like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I think that this is very personal. I used to read all the time, or in movies, you know, movies want to feed us with this info that love at first sight is the thing, that's the only way. I have many clients who have problems with this, like your friend. So they tell me, yes, but I didn't really feel so much on the first date. Yes, that is because you have to give it time. My concept is the following: date him till you hate him. So you meet a guy and you go there, and in your mind, yes, in your mind you have all this checklist like, I hope he has a good job, or I hope that he understands that he needs to pour the wine in my glass when my glass is empty, or he didn't ask me anything about my family or my background, or he was all the time talking about himself, or all these things. And this is all related to your checklist that you have in your mind. on your mind. So you go home and you are basically so busy with what you thought of this guy that you haven't really seen who he actually is. And also, very often with the first few dates, people play a role. A man might be nervous. He might talk so much because he wants to impress you, right? Or he might talk so much because he doesn't want any silence on the table. Or he forgets to pour you the wine that you are, paying attention to because he's so trying to impress you. Could be so many things. I think that the more relaxed you are about feeling if you're actually having a good time with somebody, I think that's the question you should ask. I always say this. So don't look so much at, oh, I should feel this or I should feel that, or I've already seen him twice and I don't feel in love. Shouldn't I feel in love right now? Shouldn't I feel sparks? Actually, the sparks is what's a bit dangerous, because that in the beginning shows a certain toxicity, a certain addiction to feeling very high. But if you let, feelings grow, if you give yourself space to let feelings grow about this man, date him till you hate him, then a real true love story can actually be born. Because not every man is at his very best from the moment that you meet him. Sometimes men need a little bit of time to warm up. And we women, because we have all these expectations, we judge them and we're like, I don't feel anything. I don't understand. I don't feel anything. He ticks all the boxes, but I don't feel it. I don't feel it. Give it time. That's always my advice.
Date it till you hate it. I like that. Yeah, but what if people they don't feel like at all chemistry, like zero chemistry? Then they would not have like even the desire to make a second step, and then it means that someone should push themselves.
I will tell you what you should do. You meet somebody and you like certain things, but other things you're skeptical about, you're not sure, then you continue to date him until you hate him, right? Until you're sure, like, no way, this I cannot. If you meet somebody and the first date is the no way feeling, like no way, then you don't need to date until you hate him. But very often we women, we are confused, because we are confused with our list of expectations, with the reality, and with the short time that we actually sit with that person. And then we go home and we analyze and we talk to our girlfriends, and they have their own way of thinking and they influence us. And they're like, what? He didn't bring you home. He didn't order a car for you. And then you think like, oh yeah, he didn't order a car for me. You see? No, that's not, you see what I mean? So we often jump way too fast to conclusions. That's why the simplest question to ask yourself to help yourself with this is, after a date, ask yourself, did I have a good time with him? Did I feel comfortable? Did I feel that a certain warmth? Or was this guy just, totally selfish and cold, and he made me feel extremely uncomfortable because when the bill came, he was staring at the bill for 10 minutes and I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? So ask yourself, did I have a good time? If you have a good time, but you're not sure, continue dating him until you find your answers.
So it's kind of, if it's not full no, then give it a try.
Yes, absolutely.
Give it a second try.
Yes.
Nowadays, the traditional roles of the men, being like the bread maker and the women like homemaker, it's somehow, I would say, mixed, so to speak, not so like defined as some years ago. Do you think that it's a good direction we are heading to as a society in this respect?
Unfortunately, I think that if the majority of people continues to live like we live now, that women are basically competing with men, women are working, women are being treated out there like men, I think it's not going to be good for intimate relationships. Because in an intimate relationship, you cannot have two people who basically have the same masculinity. A woman needs to have a feminine side, and a man wants a woman with a feminine side, because a man looks for something he doesn't have himself. A man falls for a woman because of her feminine side. A woman wears a dress. That's intriguing for a man. It creates a certain mystery, what's under the dress. So if you take away all that and women become more and more like men because they kind of have to, because once a woman starts to work, she cannot be sweet and kind and loving at her workplace. She has to be tough because she's competing with other tough masculine men. And that's a big problem, because for a woman, it's very difficult to switch off once she's home. And a woman, listen to what's happening. My mother was one of the first mothers in school who started to work. It was not common. And I'm from the Netherlands. That's a very, very progressive country, right? But when I grew up, my mother was really, I'm telling you, from all my classroom, no mom worked. They were all homemakers. So those women paved the way for the new generations. So those women showed the new generations that they could do it all. They worked, they kept the kids, they took care of the husband, they took care of the garden, they were baking bread every Sunday or stuff like that. But the newer generations, for example, the generations that we're looking at now, the generation we're looking at now, they're tired, these women. They're like, I'm exhausted. I'm working. I have the kids. I have my sick parents. I need to drive the kids around after school from one party to another activity. I have no time for myself. And then my husband wants to have sex. I can't. So this is the result of what my mother and other mothers actually showed us, that they could do it all. But now everybody is exhausted, because life is going so fast. And men are still not helping women in the household like women want to. It's mostly still women who take on most of the household chores. So I see this as a big problem. I think women would be way happier if they could do part-time jobs. I really, really do. That they have some money, that they're not completely dependent on men, but that they also have time to be a woman, to be a mother. And the other thing that women face, which is very unfair, but it's a harsh truth, because we have been fed this fairy tale, like you can have it all, you can work and have a husband and have kids and make money and travel and be on Instagram or whatever. We believe we can have it all. And this is a lie. You can only have it all, but not at the same time. You cannot be 25, have a small child, be pregnant with a second child, have a career that takes you to places because you have to follow seminars around the world, make bread on Sunday in the oven, cook dinners every night, take care of the household, have sick parents at home. It's impossible. And also be a good wife to your husband and sleep with him every night. You are exhausted. You can't.
Yes.
So we should be more honest and look at the truth. And this is not about admitting like, oh, but then men take over and then we're dependent on men. That is not it. It's just, if you want to have a family and be married and also want to have a career, you have to make choices what comes first, because you cannot have it all at the same time. That's the problem.
Yeah, and we can find somehow the balance within all of that, right?
Yes.
Not going
Yes,
to the
absolutely.
like either like a super masculine energy, or just staying at home and and doing nothing, and then being super dependent on the other person. So it can be like a balance, right?
Yes, because the good thing nowadays is that there are 1,000 jobs you can do from home or online. This wasn't 20 years ago. There was no online job. So nowadays you can study online, you can work online, you can do so much, you can earn money online, you can have a side hustle online, you can do part-time work. You just have to, I think it's all about pride and ego, right? So you have to be practical about it. You cannot tell yourself, okay, I'm going to have my career until I'm 42 and then I'll have kids. You don't know at 42 if you can still have kids. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then maybe you're exhausted because you have been working already for 20 years and you're not the youngest mother anymore. And if you want a second one, you have all that pressure on you, So you have to really, women should be educated in a more like honest way. Like this is a lie that you can have it all. It's really a lie.
And how about the cases where, like, in a relationship, man decides and agrees on the fact that he will play like more of a feminine role and the woman more of a masculine role? Do you think that those people deeply inside of themselves are really satisfied with the choices they have made?
I think in the moment when they decided, they're very happy and satisfied. Because there are many men who would like this idea of being with the kids, because it gives them also an opportunity to really experience their kids growing up instead of being at work and just coming home every night at 8. But in reality, unfortunately, I don't believe in this concept, because what will happen is the following. After a while, this woman won't respect her husband anymore because she's the breadwinner. She brings home the money. She comes from a masculine world. As soon as she enters the home, there's this man whose whole experience every day was, oh, he threw up, and then we went for a walk in the park, and I just made dinner, come and sit down. So she will start to disrespect her man. It's not sexy. A man should always earn more money than a woman. Unfortunately, this is how it is in nature. It's not something I'm saying. This is how relationships function the best. A man also doesn't feel good about himself after a certain while. Those kids grow up, and when they're 8, 9, 10 years old and they start to be more independent, what happens to that man then? Then he has to go out into the world to compete with other men who have the on their back, and he's missed out. So I think that it doesn't work. I think it's a very, very special situation that this works.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, the world is so much like, the women are so much in the traumatized masculine energy, in my opinion, and the opposite, men are so much in their traumatized feminine energy. I've been thinking about that, and I think it's like, at the moment it's a chaos, just because we need to discover our healthy masculine as a women, and men their healthy feminine, because again both extremes are too much. It shall be a balance somewhere, I guess, right? That we have to do
Yes,
that. Why it's a chaos.
I think right now there's so much chaos because nobody wants to change. But somebody has to change. And because the feminine is the one who attracts, the feminine is the one who basically decides who she chooses to be with, right? Because a man always by instinct, even if he is traumatized, goes after a woman. That's how it is. And the woman chooses who she wants to, have in her life. The woman chooses if she wants to sleep with him or not. Otherwise, if he decides, then it's rape, right? So a woman is very powerful. And I think that we women don't realize how powerful we actually are, because we have shifted our power into this masculine energy out there that we are competing for work, etc. So if we would be able to change and lean back into our feminine energy, find that energy back, trust our gut feeling again, trust ourselves again, I think that relationships would improve tremendously, because men cannot change. The ones who have changed the most are the women, because the last 50 years, women have changed like they have never changed so much in the history of mankind. Because now, if you don't work and you're 25, it's like, why don't you work? So you are expected as a woman to step it up and be in your masculine energy, right? So, and this is very sad, because women have changed and men are reacting to our change. That's what the chaos is all about. That's, men don't know anymore how to treat women because they're scared of women. There's no space for them to be the man because we don't let them.
Yes, and men, like, I was watching, it was a reel on Instagram, randomly of Matthew Hussey and his wife. And because they
Yes,
work with a lot of women, they share that women are complaining that men are not chasing them anymore. Basically, the women are so much in the masculines that we
yes,
even don't give space to the men to do their work.
yes. Because we are so aggressive. We're like, you know what? If you want to be with me, you have to show me, we have this whole list of expectations, you know, and this is not how it works. Because when you are so aggressive, you are stepping into your masculine energy. Just chill and be a woman, because then you will attract the man. It's again about energy. You have to shift your energy as a woman,
Yeah.
and we don't even know anymore how to do that. That's the sad part. We are so trained as women to think about men in an aggressive way. We are angry with men. We're like, why is he not calling me? Why is he not texting me? Why is he not doing anything? Because there's no desire, because there's no space.
Yeah.
Because for desire to be created, there needs to be space.
And the sad thing, Esther, is that it all comes from pain. Women are so much in their masculine. I say, I think it's healthy to have healthy masculine in women, but like a healthy one, not traumatized. And like women, we're so much in the masculine, I think, because of pain, because of hurt,
Yes.
And that's
but we've done it ourselves. There's no man on earth, maybe one, but who would tell women like, oh, you have to go work, go work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Women, when they started to really work massively during the Second World War, when all men were fighting, there were no men at home to work at the factories, to get the crop from the fields. So women started to work. That's how it started.
And
so I want to say that this wasn't because men demanded women to work. You understand? And women, they were fed up with being dependent on men. So women were like, you know what? I'm also going to work, which is great. I'm not saying that it's not correct, but women and men are different, and we cannot compete with men. When you enter a man's world and you start competing with him, he will be aggressive towards you, because men are winners. They need to win. This is what men are all about. Men are being raised to be competitive. You understand? So you have to be careful with your choices. You have to understand the consequences.
Mm-hmm. And
so do something that you can control, and that also gives you some money.
And I'm sure that there would be some women listening that are very to the feminist side and will fully disagree with what we are saying here. But anyway.
But it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. This is just my opinion, because I want the best for everybody. Yes. And I see that this would work better if I look at this whole situation of relationship realistically. I'm not saying that you should agree or disagree. Everybody has their opinion, and I totally understand, and everybody needs to feel in their lives what's good for them. Yeah. But since I see that most people, because I see this also through my clients, have great difficulties with keeping up erotic desire in a relationship, with not feeling exhausted all the time, because there's so much load on a woman's shoulders. She has to do everything. She has to be this supernatural woman, who is good looking, takes care of herself, goes to the gym, keeps the house clean, feeds the kids, goes out and has a career. It's impossible.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. There should be a balance somehow. There should be a balance.
Yes.
And that's the way something can work, and to be something like a healthy relationship, right, in the end. Okay, changing a little bit of topics. I have never heard, as nowadays, the expressions like love bombing and ghosting. Why do people cause that to the others?
Because it's easy. And everything that's easy is attractive for people. The ghosting thing only happens because nowadays you can. Because you used to have to call somebody on a landline. Now you can just not answer, disappear, because it's all via apps. If somebody sends you a DM on Instagram and starts to chit chat with you, and you think, oh, there's something going on. A week later, this person blocks you, disappears. That's all normal. We shouldn't take that personal, because those relationships are not real relationships. It's different when you are in a really serious relationship and you've been living with this person, and suddenly this person disappears from the home and blocks you and ghosts you. That's serious. But if you are dating somebody in a casual way and this person ghosts you, you should never take it serious. If it's a man who ghosts you, he's weak. He cannot face you and tell you, look, I don't find you so attractive anymore. It's too hard for him. This is too much confrontation. Or if, for example, he meets somebody else, he's not going to tell you, men don't like to be the bad guy. So he prefers to ghost you. It's easier than to explain. It's hard for a man. And also then a woman will start to ask everything about feelings, and men don't like to talk about these things, especially if he's just been dating this woman for like 3-4 times. There's no reason for explanation. Love bombing is because that's also easy. Men are very smart. So they see when they are boys and they tell pretty words to their mom, like, oh, mom, I love you, I want to marry you. This mother is ecstatic. She's like, oh, she's telling everybody, all the relatives, everybody needs to know. So he knows, it's imprinted in his brain when he grows up. When I say nice things to women, they fall for it. So when a man wants to sleep with a woman, his intentions are like something short-term to satisfy his needs, then he will love bomb her if he wants to, because he knows it works, because women fall for what they hear. And unfortunately, many women still fall for it. It's really sad. And I have women who tell me, but for 3 months, he was telling me all these beautiful things, and then suddenly nothing. Yeah, it's terrible. It's awful. But it is one of the causes of modern dating, that this happens a lot.
Yes, it happens a lot. And I fully agree with you with that, when you have met somebody once and this person doesn't come back, it's okay. But then if it happens more times, I think it's respectful to say something, right? It's respectful to the other one, not to just disappear.
Absolutely.
Even one sentence. It's not about so much intimate relationship. It's more about, treating the other human with respect. That's how I see the things, right? But you're correct. It happens so often nowadays, we even shouldn't think about that and not take it personally.
Yes.
Right.
It's hard. I know that. I know it's hard, but it's really the only way, because you cannot change people, and you cannot tell somebody who did something wrong, like, hey, you did something wrong. You should have told me the truth or whatever. This person knows they're doing something wrong. They always do. Everybody knows that ghosting is not correct, but it's just easy. And when it's easy, men will do it.
Yes.
And women also do it. When a woman, when a man is trying to flirt with a woman, take her out, and he pushes and pushes and pushes, at some point she would just ignore him because she doesn't want to be bothered. So it also happens the other way around. It's just something that, is the result of how dating goes nowadays.
Yeah. But even the woman in these cases should have the strength within herself to say that she is not interested in this man, and to leave space to this man, to go and chase other women and not to lose the time of this man. At least that's how I'm seeing the things. Yeah, but
you are right.
How our attachment styles are impacting our relationships. And let's talk specifically here, not so much about the secure types, more about the anxious and avoidant. They both want to have close relationships, right, in their bottom. But at the same time, because of trauma response, they're acting in a so different way. What would be your advice for both the avoidant types and the anxious types?
Oh my goodness, there's so much trauma there. Look, first of all, you have to be able to recognize it in yourself, right? You have to understand what attachment style you have. Second of all, I think we give a lot of emphasis. Everybody nowadays, it's like we're talking about their astrology sign. What's your attachment style? it's a little bit scary that we have all these titles, you know, your attachment style, your trauma. I think that especially I have a lot of clients who have an anxious attachment style, and it's very hard for me to help them because they always instinctively react. Somebody with an anxious attachment style is so reactive all the time on what the man, if we're talking about women with anxious attachment style, on what men do. For example, if a man tells you we need to talk, a woman with an anxious attachment style will immediately jump to conclusions. Oh my goodness, he wants to break up. And maybe he just wants to tell her, look, I can't make it on Friday. I can make it next Friday. You know what I mean? Because men are practical. So I think that everything comes down to, and also the avoidant type, what they really want is actually to be close to somebody. But that's so scary because when they're close to somebody, all they know is that that person will hurt them. So the only way to heal or to at least manage it better is to really work on your self-love. There is no other way. Because what we do is we go through a relationship and we have trouble with this, with our attachment styles, because we destroy the relationship because we are too clingy, too needy when we have an anxious attachment style, for example. And men, they don't know how to deal with that. It's like too much for them. They break up with you and then you do 5 sessions with me and you think, okay, now I can deal with it. Next relationship, I follow you and I tell you exactly what to do and how to react. I give you guidelines. And one thing happens and immediately you'll go back to everything you did in a previous relationship. So the way to go is not to hope that with another person, who that person is maybe more patient or nicer or more attentive, things will go better. The way to go about it is to practice with yourself. You have to practice self-love. It's like learning another language. If you want to learn another language, I can go and sit with a teacher in school, but the best way is also to practice at home. And this is also with these attachment styles. This all comes from our childhood, obviously. So you have to work with yourself. You have to talk to your inner child, because we all carry, I truly believe that, an inner child in us who's still wounded and hurt. So you have to become your own parent and talk to your inner child as if you are still this 5-year-old girl who was hurt by your parents. And not that they did that on purpose, because they also had their trauma, because trauma goes from generation to generation. And if you want to break it, if you want to set yourself free from an avoidant attachment style or an anxious attachment style, you have to work on yourself and not hope that the next partner, you will do what Esther said and it will all work out, because that's not how it works.
So as a solution, from what I have heard is basically learning more self-love, more and more self about those. Yeah, and in the book attached, I've read that 50% of the population is secure, and I was like, really? It's like I'm doubting this percentage, but anyway.
Me too. Me too.
I'm really doubting this percent. But
Me
let's
too.
trust the data. Esther, a lot of there are people who are getting constantly bored in relationships after being spending years with someone. And what is this boredom about?
The boredom has to do with you, not with your partner. In general, in life, to be bored is not such a bad thing. It's not like, oh my, it's so dramatic. But if you are bored in a relationship, it has to do with you. And the best way to get rid of boredom is to start to work on yourself again. Because we get bored in relationships because we expect our partners to fill up a gap that we have, to fill up something that we think we cannot give ourselves. And if this partner goes through a period in time that they just can't because they have their own problems, or they are tired, or they just settled, so they become more lazy, then you get bored in a relationship. And this happens very often in long-term relationships, when partners have kids together. So there's two things. The first is that every relationship always needs work. And that is not something mysterious. That's just the truth. It's like your relationship with your friends also needs work. When you go out with your friends, you also make an effort to ask them how they are, and you let them talk about their issues. You exchange, experiences. That's also how you should treat your partner. You should always be attentive to your partner. And very often we get bored with our partner, but we don't realize that in the course of this relationship, we have also changed. It's not just the partner who changes, we changed. And if you want him to change again, to become more exciting or more giving or whatever, then change has to start with you. Because the best way to get somebody else to change is when you change. Because when you change and you reinvent yourself and you develop and you are busy with yourself, you're active, you're proactive, you undertake, certain things that you do with yourself, then that partner will wake up because he will see it. It will reflect on him, your energy. Mm-hmm. So you force him in a very subtle way to also change.
And when we're talking about boredom, another thing comes to my mind. I see like a rise of open and polygamous relationships nowadays. And even the biggest podcasts are inviting individuals that are preaching those things. Like, I feel like there is a push for that somehow. Like, I see it more and more often. And what do you think about that? Is it again a way for people to escape from their shadows?
Everything that's extreme is a way to distract yourself, a way to escape, a way to not do the work. That's how it is. That's the rule in life. If you're out every night partying, you do that because you cannot sit home alone with yourself and be at peace. If you are looking for different relationships all at the same time, then you are constantly looking for something and you don't know exactly what it actually is you're looking for. So I think that everything that's extreme is just a result of you not being able to stand yourself. And it also has to do with fear. I think nowadays people are so incredibly aware of death and of the limited time we have on earth that it's almost sometimes as if people try to push 5, 6 different lifetimes into one. Like, I need to have that experience because God forbid I might be 80 tomorrow and then realize like, oh no, I didn't do enough. I didn't try enough. And this all comes from fear. But I think the answers are really into finding peace with yourself and not to look for different partners at the same time. You will never be at peace.
And I've heard like a quote some days ago that I really like. For some people, the stability within one relationship shows their inner chaos. In the end, we have to face ourselves, right? Like, because even if we use somebody so that this person can somehow soothe the pain and the chaos inside of us, yes, he will do that probably, or she will do that for a couple of years, but then after a couple of years, it comes back, the chaos, and it comes stronger because everything that has been suppressed comes stronger.
Absolutely. Yes, it's we are, but this is also partly because of the internet, right? Because everything goes so fast. We are constantly looking, even in our subconscious, for instant gratification. So everything in life is less serious. It's almost as if we think we don't believe anymore in the concept of being with one partner for the rest of your life, because it's so scary that you might miss out on other opportunities, right? Because your life is short. Everybody says that. And life is not so short. This also has to do with a mindset, with what you do with your life. If you want to have a great life, that doesn't depend on how many things you do or how many partners you choose. That depends on how you develop yourself. That shows having a great life. It's not about the money you have in the bank, or I had this partner, that partner, I went there, this, and I did all these things. It's about how you develop yourself. That's all. That's really it.
I love it. And if someone is with the right person, what exactly is going to miss out there? Nothing.
Yeah, that's also a problem. This believing that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence is also a big lie. And this unfortunately happens very often, that once people have something good, because we get used to it, we don't see the good anymore. That's why the journals work. You know, journals, when I grew up, there were no journals, but I find this concept intriguing, that you write down every day what you're grateful for, what your intentions are, what you would like to achieve this week, your program, blah, blah, blah. The good thing with these journals is that it forces your brain to be more conscious of what you're actually grateful for, right? Because if you ask somebody, what are you grateful for today? That person might tell you, oh, I don't know, you know, but when you push yourself to think about it, I'm grateful that, I'm just saying, that my friend called me. I hadn't heard from her for 2 months. I'm just saying an example. So that forces you to change your mindset. And when you live more in a conscious way, then you're also happier as a person. That's not what I'm saying. That's just how it is. So I think this fast life, this chaos, it's something that unfortunately we have created this. So if we want to be happier, instead of continuing with this rat race and looking here, there, and everywhere for something to soothe us, to help us, we have to look from within. You know, that's where you'll find it.
The last question is about I see some of the advice on your social media, like some of the advice like gets such an emotional response for some people, like such a huge resistance. And I'm like,
Yes.
I have some advice that I want to talk with you. Like one of the advice is like, you say that if a man likes and comments a picture of another woman on Instagram, on social media, he wants her. And we are talking here about, you know, men that are in committed relationships, right? And I was reading the comments, like so many men, you know, disagree, which, okay, I understand for men. They want to prove their behavior right. But there was also so many women, so many women saying that's not true.
Look, I'm not making these posts to be right, but the truth is that a man, when he sees another woman and he comments on her because she's sexy, because she's in a bikini, it's not going to be a teacher who is serious and looks like, I don't know, 65 years old. It's going to be a hot, sexy woman he will comment on. What happens in his brain is when he makes that comment, he feels better about himself. He looks at that woman and it gives him a feeling of pleasure from within. And he makes the comment because he subconsciously or on purpose wants to get her attention. That is what it's all about. Because if a man says, no, that's not at all, like, I just want to be nice.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Why do you feel the need, while you have been in a serious relationship with a woman for the last 8 years, to comment on a random woman just to be nice? Let's say you and your wife or your girlfriend walk on the street, and you, who are pretty, pass by. Do you think that man would stop you and tell you, oh, I'm sorry, I have to tell you, you're so pretty? Would that ever happen in real life? Of course not.
No.
Men do these things because they know they can get away with it, because his profile might be, you know, his wife might not know about this profile that he's liking these pictures from, or he thinks that she doesn't look at what he does or whatever. It makes him feel better about himself. That's what this is all about. It's all about his ego.
Yeah.
He does something secretly. It's like secret flirting. It's innocent according to him because he's not really doing anything. but he's trying to get her attention, plus that he feels pleasure when he looks at these kind of pictures. And I'm not saying that we women are also to blame, because there are also many women who tell me, I want a serious boyfriend, but then I look at their Instagram and it's full of bikini pictures. And
Yeah,
men, unfortunately, men are very simple, unfortunately. They look at that and are like, she's easy. Oh, I want to sleep with her. He doesn't think like, I want to have a serious relationship with her, because men are visual beings and they categorize women. So it's all a balancing act if you're a woman and you want to also upload some sexy pictures and you want to be able to post a picture in your bikini without being judged by me, like, and I understand that, but there has to be a balance. So if your whole Instagram is about bikinis, that's not a balance. If every now and then you want to post yourself in a bikini, that's fine. You know what I mean? But the overall image is very important.
Yes, and the other one, the last one that I have pointed out is that you say that never do that to men, never complain and never explain. And a lot of people
Yes.
accuse you of manipulation, because communication, and not communication, effective communication, because people try to communicate all the time. Effective communication is important in relationships. So what do you exactly mean by that?
Yes, I'll tell you. Yeah, I know it creates a lot of reaction, because women immediately become very defensive. Like, of course, I'm going to tell him what I want. Okay. So men don't listen very well. They're not very good listeners. Sorry if there are any men listening to us. It's just the way it is. Especially when it comes to women, because we talk a lot as well. We say, oh, don't forget to call him. And did you open the door of the garage? And have you eaten? And all that. So men, they kind of like listen to maybe 10% of what women say. So first of all, that is very important to start with, to realize that a man doesn't really listen to you so carefully as you think he does, or as you expect that he does. A man is all about actions. Second point. So if you want to show a man how you want to be treated, you have to show him through actions, not through words. You're not going to tell him, I don't want you to, or I want you to call me every Saturday. You're not going to do that. You're going to show him what you want from him. Men hate it. This feeling of not being free, the feeling of you telling him what to do, makes you his mother, and you're not his mother. So, for example, if a man does something that you don't like and you complain, like, for example, he forgets to call you and you're like, why didn't you call me yesterday? You were supposed to call me. What's wrong with you? I don't like that. Blah, 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 whatever you say. Mm-hmm. The effect will be that he will become defensive. If next time he calls you, he will do it under pressure. He won't do it because he wants to. And if these things continue to happen in your relationship over time, that man, I can guarantee this to you, will cheat on you. Because when you push a man like that, the opposite effect will happen. So what you do, instead of complaining, you pull away your energy. This is way more effective than whatever you tell him with words. So he didn't call you. He was supposed to call you. You are not going to call him. You are not going to text him and point it out to him. You're not going to say anything. You are going to be more distant. Because if you want him to keep calling you and, reaching out to you, you have to shift your energy. And when you shift your energy, you're more shut down, not cold, more distant. Then he becomes nervous and then he will start to call you. But if you are pointing your finger at him, like, why didn't you call me? You said you would call, he will just be like, oh my goodness, this woman. So silence is actually the most effective tool a woman can use in a long-term relationship. And that's how you manipulate a man, with your silence and not with your words. And if you want him to buy you a blue dress for a wedding that costs 500 euros, and you start to explain to him that he should do that for you because you think that wedding is worth these 500 euros because she's your best friend, what happens is, the more you explain as a woman, the more you give of your own feminine power away. You should never explain as a woman. If you want something from a man, you ask him directly for what it is you want. That's what we women don't know how to do, you know, because we're too proud. And then if this woman tells me, yeah, but if I ask for a dress of 500 euros, he's never going to give it to me. There comes the acceptance. Accept what he can give you, what we started out with in the beginning of the podcast. Because if he feels that he can't give you 500 euros for that dress that you want, because it's just too much for him, because he needs the money for something else, because whatever, take what he can give you and be happy with that.
Yes.
So that's where this whole concept of don't complain and don't explain comes from. Yes. This is not about giving up your power. This is about being smart. If you want to get things from a man.
Yeah.
Words are poor. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I think it was neat. All right, and at the very end of the episode, Esther, I usually start a sentence and I ask my guests to finish the sentence, like quickly, just a few words or one sentence. The first one. Nowadays, women forget that. Nowadays, women forget that. That it's very important to appreciate, to show a man appreciation for what he does. And nowadays, men forget that. Women love to be shown that they love them, but women also still need to hear it. There is a big rise in loneliness in our society because we are not really connected anymore to each other. Feminism for me is... I don't know. It's scary. It's scary. Okay. If you want to be happy in your relationship, you have to be happy with yourself. Real love finds people who are all about love themselves. If I could change one thing in the world, it would be? I would love to help people be less afraid. And I really believe in? Love. Of course. Thank you so much, Esther. You're so welcome. So much fun with you. This is so interesting, really. You are so smart. My goodness. Thank you so much. It was so much fun for me as well. And it wasn't, I want to say that it wasn't an accident that I invited exactly you. Not a single guest of mine is an accident. Thank you so much for your time. I really hope that your message will reach a lot of people because it needs to be heard. I hope so too. Thank you so much. Thank you.